Yes, revolutionary greetings, comrades. Welcome to our Consciousnm study class. If I was to call the session, it might be I don't know which session is it, but it might be close to 100 sessions. But today we are actually engaged once again to continue our conversation on the philosophy and the ideology for decolonizing Africa called conscientism. Conscientism or conscientism is a philosophy and ideology by Kwame Nkrumah. Some call it Nkrumahism. Of course, today we are going to continue having left last class to looking at Leibniz philosophy. And remember before we had actually arrived at two things, that humanism can lead to democratic capitalism or cooperative socialism. So in our last class we looked at Leibniz philosophy, which was focusing on democratic capitalism. Today we are going ahead to look at Descartes' philosophy and the quest for truth and the role of cooperative socialism. That's what you want to look at today in the paragraph highlighted. So some of the few things we look forward to discuss is the Cartesian doubt and methodology, understanding how Descartes' systematic approach to doubt and his quest for certain knowledge. We are going to check the concept of public objective truth, exploring Descartes' turn on shared truth and the implication of collective reasoning. We are also going to look at cooperative socialism in Descartes' thoughts, analyzing the social and cooperative elements within Descartes' philosophy. We are also going to do a comparison with the previous philosophers, of course, including Leibniz, highlighting contrasts and connections between Descartes' philosophy that leads to social cooperative socialism vis-a-vis Leibniz philosophy that looks at democratic capitalism. Key questions we need to ask ourselves include: how does Cartesian doubt help in arriving at certain knowledge? In what ways does Descartes' philosophy emphasize the importance of public and objective truth? And what arguments does Descartes present in favor for cooperative socialism? And how does Descartes' ideas on cooperative or cooperation and stability support social order? And lastly, can we identify any practical applications of Descartes' philosophy in the contemporary society? So, comrades, yes, welcome once again to all of you. I see you, Sister Ida. I see Sister Tapua with us. Sir Windhoek is here with us. Brother Coco is here with us. And Brother Joseph is also here with us. So basically, the west of Africa is here, the south of Africa is here, the east of Africa is here, and Zimbabwe can be part of Central and also South of Africa, and the Caribbean is also here with us from the diaspora. So this is actually a conversation that represents the representation of people of African origin or blacks or Africans from all across the globe, both in Europe, Caribbean, and African continent. In this regard, then I want us to start off our class officially with the reading as usual, the paragraph that's highlighted, then we can share our thinking in line with that. So let me know who might be willing today to read for us the paragraph highlighted. Anybody want us to hear the reading?
Yeah. Somebody, I can't read because my eyes kind of read. But before you go, it might be helpful to have the paragraph from last week. I'm suggesting it might be helpful to read the paragraph from last week so it refresh people's mind going into this new one.
Okay, based on your request, Brother Joseph, permit me to give a reminder of the previous paragraph by reading the previous paragraph, so that then we can read this one and connect and start the conversation. Is that what you're proposing, Brother Joseph?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, thank you. Now, in the last paragraph is the paragraph And I'll read the two of them actually, starting with the power. So the power of the church could still be felt, and philosophers like Descartes and Leibniz, inspired by fear of being recognized immediately as undermining the social power of the church in favor of humanism, prudently suppressed their definitive works, which only saw the light of the day posthumously. I have already said that humanism branched off into a democratic capitalism and cooperative socialism. The two philosophies of Leibniz and Descartes provide further illustrations of the way in which this happened, on the way in which humanism branched to democratic capitalism and cooperative socialism. Now, Leibniz, the previous paragraph, Leibniz believed that the universe consisted of infinite number of units, which he called monads. Each monad was a spirit, but monads enjoyed different level of consciousness, and matter in his philosophy was a collection of spirits which were in a complete state of unconsciousness. He was an idealist, but that was not what constituted his contribution to democratic capitalism. For this, we must turn to his remarks about the nature of monads. Now, according to Leibniz, every monad is completely self-contained and is completely windowless on every other monad. Every monad is, furthermore, invested with a private law of its development, a law which provides sometimes for the dimness of other monads at a time when a particular monad luxuriates in well-being. And this whole arrangement is sanctified by the principle of pre-established harmony. In social terms, this means that every individual has an inalienable right to develop according to his nature, even if his development requires the suffering and subordinations of others in a political or in an economic sense. It is in this way that Leibniz's philosophy contributes to a democratic capitalism. That was our reading of the previous class on understanding how we arrive at capitalism. Now, our class today, I think we'll start with the Descartes philosophy on how we arrive at social cooperative. So somebody can read the first paragraph without reading the second paragraph. Then we can see how we move ahead with that. Anybody who's ready to read for us the first paragraph?
Yes.
Yes, please go ahead, sister.
On the other hand, in the philosophy of Descartes, support is given to cooperative socialism. Descartes begins with the position that reason is the same in all, and that fundamentally we are equally able to perceive and appreciate the same truths. We do not have private truths. We all share public objective truths and pursue them. And even when, because we have not paid full attention to the matter on hand, we have not yet ascertained the truth. We must cooperate with others in supporting the demands of order as conceived by them. Consequently, Descartes says that whilst he was busy doubting everything in order the better to appreciate what was true, he still conceived it as necessary to cooperate with others in supporting the stability and order of society.
Thank you, Sister. Thank you, Sister Tapua. Let's have a conversation on that first before we go to the next paragraph. Now, who is ready to start us? Anybody ready to start us off? Yes, Brother Yusuf?
No, I will pass now.
Sawindok?
Yes.
Yes, do you have something to say?
Greetings to everybody.
Greetings, Sawindok.
Yes. Can you maybe take me through cooperative socialism first?
And this is what we are going through here. We are meeting it for the first time here. And I think this paragraph is what Descartes is trying to describe to us what is that cooperative socialism. So the answer of what you are asking probably is here. Because in the previous paragraph, we were learning about democratic capitalism based on Leibniz. And here, Descartes is telling us about cooperative...
Democratic.
No, the other one was democratic capitalism.
Yes.
But now here, Descartes is telling us about cooperative socialism. So probably taking you through that is basically taking you through this paragraph.
Yeah.
Can I?
Yes, Sister Tapua?
Yes. I like the fact that Descartes' position is that we have the same truths. Because then it means that we all live within the same environment. But he also points out that we don't all see the truth at the same time. So we have people who see the truth and others who will not see the truth at the same time as the others. And this is where I have a problem.
No, Sister Tapua.
Yes.
Hold on a bit. You say that Descartes is saying we all don't see the truth at the same time, while he is saying in the second sentence that fundamentally we are all equal to be able to perceive and appreciate the truth.
Mm-hmm. But then, okay, he says we are all able to, but then the sentence that starts, and even when, because we have not paid full attention to the matter on hand, so our ability to pay attention to the matter at hand makes us see the truth at different times. Because he then says, we have not yet ascertained the truth. We must operate with others in supporting the demands of order as conceived by them. So we're saying in society, we are privy, all of us, to the truth. But our ability to focus on the truth varies. So he's then saying, it's almost obligatory that those who have not seen the truth should follow the ones who have. And I have a problem with that. Because whilst you might not have come to see the truth, or whatever is perceived as the truth, how then do you follow?
Sorry.
Because I'm looking at a situation here where the truth of the implications of African countries getting independent. But others had not arrived at seeing the truth that he could see.
Mr. Tapua,
The fact that, yes.
I'm really struggling to understand the flow of what you're saying, cause
All right.
Descartes is saying that we do not have private truths, which means we own the same truth. There's no truth that is private to one person. Sister Tapua, have you dropped?
Yes, hello? No,
Yeah.
if you go to the sentence starting in the middle of that paragraph, and even when there's a clause there, because we have not paid full attention to the matter on hand, we have not yet ascertained the truth. So there is a point in time where some people have not yet ascertained the truth. In other words, the truth is there, they've not got there yet. And what he's saying is they will get there, but because we need order and because some people see the truth earlier than others, there's an obligation that people must follow the ones who have seen the truth. I hope I'm making myself clear.
Now, let me ask you that aspect. Now, yes, I have understand what you're saying by saying that even when we have not ascertained the truth. But then he's saying because we have not yet ascertained the truth, we must cooperate with each other in supporting the demands of order as conceived by them. So who is this them? I think that's where you are bringing the aspect, by them.
Yes, because the assumption, he's assuming that there are people who see the truth first, and then they're confident they've seen the truth. But there are people who have not yet seen the truth. My question is, those people who have not seen the truth, are they aware that they have not seen the truth yet? So this group of people will be, might I use the word, cajoled into following the people who are convincing in terms of seeing the truth.
Sister Tapua, now let's take for example in Zimbabwe. They say that I don't seek the truth and the truth shall set you free. That's what they said somewhere. I don't know if it's in the Bible or where. But do you believe, for example, when you sit down at your own consciousness and see how the state of your country sometimes is run or Africa, and you get mad, you get annoyed, and you get angry, do you think when you see some other people who are not even hungry, are not even annoyed, are even not mad about it, they support those leaders who loot, they support the colonial system? Do you think they have seen the truth?
They have not, from my position, because of how I define my truth, they have not yet seen the truth, but they will get there eventually. Let me give an example. When Kwame Nkrumah proposed that we be united Africa, it didn't make sense to some people, but now we're coming round to realizing that what he said was the truth. That's what the truth was. But because of the need of order, it kind of fell by the wayside, which is where you find democracy coming in. So democracy will support things that might not even be sensible because the majority of the people think this is the truth. So we are in the situation we are in today because when Kwame Nkrumah said the truth, said the path that we must follow, not everybody was convinced. And therefore, it did not happen. But now we're beginning to see people are coming around. In other words, people will take time to see the truth. The truth will always be the truth. It is now evidently true that unless Africa unites and be one, we will not get anywhere. So I think this is what I'm reading from here.
But Sister Tapua, do you think people have private truth?
No.
Do you think what is true can only be true to you and not true to others?
At a point, yes. But it's not necessarily private.
Okay.
Because
but then the question is, do we then share public objective truth? And when you talk of objective truth, it's not subjective. It's proven truth, which means is a scientifically or whatever proven truth. It's not subjective, it's objective truth. Do you believe we all share objective truth? And if we were to share all, if we're all sharing public objective truth, for example, we all share the truth we are talking about, that it's very true now that until Africa unites and whatever, it cannot be developed. It's true now that President Ruto must go out, or it's true now that the system is not working for us. If we are all sharing the same truth, does it mean that then we have not paid full attention to what he's talking about in the second aspect? That's why we are not coming in unison? Or what do you think about it?
yes, I think it's the time factor here. It's the time factor that makes a difference, because we come to realize the truth at different points. I'll give you an example using the Zimbabwean context. When Donald Trump came to power and he kind of canceled all the aid that was coming into Zimbabwe, there is a class of people in Zimbabwe that has not experienced the Zimbabwe that the ordinary person experiences. And these people had their own, they perceived, they empathized with people who were struggling, but they had not experienced it. So the way they saw the truth was not objective because they were not living it. But right now we have people who have lost their jobs, like immediately. They've lost their cars, they've lost their homes, their children are getting out of private school, trying to find a place in public schools and so on. And it's that coming round, because at independence in 1980, there are people who saw a certain truth, the objective truth of how Zimbabweans must come together to fulfill the dream that they had when they went to war. But there were people who did not see it that way. And some of them are just beginning to come round now to see the truth.
Okay.
So it's the time factor that makes a difference.
But again then, when he says that because you have not yet ascertained the truth, we must cooperate with each other, how do you feel about that?
That's the point that I was saying is so annoying. Because, for example, whilst Nkrumah was saying we need a united Africa, and the majority of other leaders were thinking no, he basically couldn't do anything. He had to cooperate and then lower his own expectations and live within the context of knowing that we're not going to go anywhere. We're eventually going to get to the truth, but it's going to be long and painful.
But so, then, Sister Tapo, where is the problem when we cooperate with those who have seen the truth? Because he's saying because we have not ascertained the truth, we must cooperate with those who have seen the truth. Where is the problem there?
The question is, who is seeing the truth? Are the people who are not seeing the truth admitting that they don't see the truth? Or they are looking at their truth and you're looking at your truth?
No, we have agreed there's no private truth. For example, before I go to the next person, sorry for making this longer, but for example, Sister Tapua, you are leading a community initiative, maybe like what you're doing here in Socialism, trying to teach people, educate people, so that they can see the truth. You go out and do activism or advocacy to help the people see the truth. In this process, you have already seen the truth. But you're going out to reach out to more people who maybe have seen the truth, but they have not ascertained the truth. So you are leading the process of trying to bring them to join you in pursuing the truth. Now, is there a problem by you asking them to come in and cooperate and join you by either helping them see the truth so that together you can fight?
There's none. I've got an example of what happened this week. I was posting some information on African achievements pre-colonial. And someone in one group said, we're just fed up of this. Why are we talking about this, that, and the other in the past? We're looking at the present. And you're trying to tell that person that in order for you to go confidently forward into the future, you need to understand who you are. And he was ranting and he was saying, we're defeated people. We don't own anything. What evidence is there? So this person, I can see that he can't see the truth, but he himself cannot see that he can't see the truth. It's with time that he is going to see the truth.
Okay, thank you.
So because we can't wait and because time moves, that makes the difference. Anyway, thank you. Cheers.
Okay, cheers. Thank you for sharing your thinking with us. Sir Windhoek?
And for so long as they haven't seen the truth, we cannot expect them to cooperate. Because they are cooperating for what? For what objective? To achieve what?
And how can they see the truth?
How can this be the truth?
No, how can they, who have not seen the truth, see the truth?
They will have to be workshopped. They will have to be taught. They will have to be informed until such time they see the truth. And once they have seen the truth, they are likely to cooperate towards the bigger objective.
Now, how about, because he's saying here, because we have not paid full attention to the matter at hand, does it mean that they have not seen the truth because they have not paid that attention?
Either way.
Okay. Yeah, continue sharing your thinking with us. Brother Windhoek, you were done?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm done for now.
Okay, Brother Coco's hand is up, and then I'll come to Brother Joseph. Brother Coco?
Greetings, comrades.
Greetings, Brother Coco.
Yeah, I think Brother Windhoek asked an important question which I don't think we ever answered. But before I attempt to answer that question, I think I'll ask you to scroll up a bit to about a paragraph before the last one that we read. So you see that you said it was the first time that you saw cooperative socialism, but it's there. There are two of them there compared side by side. Democratic capitalism versus cooperative socialism. And importantly, it said here that the power of the church was so strong that philosophers like Descartes and Leibniz were held back by fear and couldn't express what it is that they felt because of fear of the church. And their work was only realized after their death, posthumously. So last week we were talking about democratic socialism, but this week we are talking about cooperative socialism. So allow me to read here what the AI says about cooperative socialism.
Democratic capitalism, rather.
Cooperative socialism is what I need to talk about today, because we talked about democratic capitalism last week, didn't we? So this week is about cooperative socialism. Were you saying that that's not what you wanted to hear, say Windhoek?
was reminding you that in your process of pronouncing, you said democratic socialism instead of democratic capitalism. That's what he was trying to correct.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
he's right. Yeah, you made a mistake. Yeah, good. Go
Thank
ahead.
you, my blessed warrior. Thank you, Comrade Joseph, as well. So, cooperative socialism emphasizes the role of cooperative enterprises within a socialist framework. Here is the breakdown of its key aspects. Core principle, cooperation. At its heart, cooperative socialism prioritizes cooperation over competition. Okay? It advocates for economic organization based on shared ownership and democratic control. This means that workers or consumers collectively own and manage businesses rather than private individuals or corporations. And aspect number two, democratic control. Decisions within cooperative enterprises are made democratically, typically on a one member, one vote basis. It empowers individuals and gives them a direct say in economic activities that affect their lives. Then, aspect number three, emphasis on shared ownership. Cooperative socialism promotes the idea that the means of production should be owned collectively. It aims to eliminate the exploitation inherent in capitalist systems where profits accrue to private owners rather than those that who produce the goods or services. And there are lots of things, but let me rush to relationship to socialism. Cooperative socialism views cooperatives as a pathway to a broader socialist society. Proponents argue that by expanding the call to gradually transform the economy and create a more equitable distribution of wealth and power. Now, modern relevance in a contemporary society, cooperatives exist in various forms. We already know some of these credit unions, housing cooperatives, consumer cooperatives, and worker cooperatives. And these entities, they display how cooperative principles can be put into practice. In essence, cooperative socialism envisions a society where economic activity is organized around principles of democracy, cooperation, and shared ownership. Does that help you, Seven Hook?
Hey, you nailed it.
Okay.
You couldn't
Good.
have said it better than that.
It's not me. It's a AI now. So
Thank you.
we have this on our
Thank
hands
you to
now.
both of you, you and AI.
Cheers, brother. Now, going to what Sister Pio was saying, I would like to farm my thoughts, but before I farm my thoughts, I thought maybe I should allude a bit to what my dear sister was saying. The examples she gave, I think, were more of perspectives than the truth. The truth is a fact, is what do you call it? It cannot be changed. It is what it is. So, for instance, in the example that you gave, when you said there were victories that you were trying to recount of when there was pre-colonial successes, achievements of the African people, those happened. Those happened, and it depends on who the other party was thinking. They were thinking, okay, those things happened, but what do they help me in the present context? Then that's where probably you disagree because you are using that as a positive, as an inspiration for you to want to remember that you have a history as a people. You feel good about that, and that helps you to get out of the depression which the system constantly puts the black people in. But the other brother was saying, for me, it doesn't make any difference. I'm still in this whole, whatever whole you want to call. So to me, that's a difference in perspectives, not the truth. The truth is still irrefutable, unchanged, still as is. So when they say the truth is public, there are no private truth. This is what they mean. Then the difference that will then be who agrees to the truth and who doesn't want to know the truth because they are looking at things from their own perspective. And that's a fundamental difference. We can talk about religion all day long. You know that very well. And in fact, even in here, they talk about the church all the time. And you know how the church has changed throughout time. The church was responsible for our enslavement with the papal bulls. And then they came back and apologized. And it's like everything is fine and they should move on. We should move on with the same church that was involved in our own enslavement. The Arab people would defend that. In fact, I live in a household here where some people go to church. I don't go to church. And they say, if I talk like this, I'm being divisive. You understand? Because they think, okay, we live as a brotherhood of man. But that brotherhood of man is not fair. You understand? There is a capitalist society in which today, as I was training, I was thinking to myself, I said, I have higher blood pressure. Even if I train hard, this doesn't even improve. So why should I go on? But I say, okay, I need to continue. It's the same when you are a worker. When you are a worker, you think, I work hard, really hard. And they say, hard work pays. But you look at where you are still where you were before you started working hard. It's the same. You understand? But the church is always there. Whether the church has done bad or the church has done good, there will be those who defend it because they see the truth as maybe can bend. They'll say, okay, it wasn't the church itself, it was that pope at that time. Forget about that pope. You understand? But that pope was doing that in the name of the church, in the name of Christianity. And in the same sense, in the Bible you read, they will always say, slaves, obey your masters. Is still there in the Bible. But they will also tell you there are other verses in the Bible which are good, which say something else. And I think that's why the Bible is written in such a conflicting manner. There's always one version which says something else and another version which says something else. Because it's how it is. It's supposed to confuse. Then, hence, hold people captive. Once people are in there, they remain captive. Hence, they do not want to wake up. And when you don't want to wake up and see the truth, you want to hold on to your own private truth. And I think you referred to something else, Sister Tapua, when you said, at independence, he was advocating for unity at the time, but he met people who did not want to listen to him. There are people who didn't believe in neocolonialism. In fact, they called his theory, his findings, conspiracy theories. So in that sense, it's those people who did not want to see, who could not see at the same pace as he did. That's why we always say Nkrumah was like a prophet. He was seeing far into the future. And amongst his peers, he didn't have an equal. And all of this is contained in this reading we have had tonight, in which we are saying we have to be patient with some of these people. We have to try and bring them along. But I don't know for how long that will happen. I don't know. We just have to find a way. Probably as we read, we might find something that will help. But if we have to go back to how Nkrumah struggled to bring unity among the leaders at that time, it won't work. there are lots of other factors at play here. And those include, where did you learn? Where did you grow up? What customs do you follow? Lots and lots of other things which shape your perspective to life. I hope that helps.
Brother Coco, I don't want you go, but I'll allow you to go. But the question again, Brother Coco, based on this, do you think there can be cooperation between those who have seen the truth and those who haven't seen the truth? Brother Coco?
Oh, sorry. If there's a demonstrable benefit, while there's a demonstrable benefit, that can happen. You can follow someone because they show you that something can work. Maybe I'm even getting my own answers here on how we can actually get those who are incredulous to see the truth. So here, before you started, you said, we started late today because many people did not show up on time. There is always a conflict between needing to feed the mind, but at the same time, needing to feed the belly. So this is where the problem is. If we don't give the people what they need to eat, what they need to wear, or where they need to sleep, where they need to live, then they look up to the people who can do that for them. That's why America and all the others who print the money frivolously can go in there and feed them. That's how the US aid managed to do all of that. But if we, as Pan-Africans, were able to show people a true way which can benefit them, then they can cooperate, whether they agree in the truth or not.
So, Brother Coco, you're trying to suggest that maybe some of the reason why some might have not paid full attention to the matter on hand, which in this case the truth at hand, is maybe such other factors like either the stomach and the rest. Not basically going to that direction, but inability for them. Because, for example, sometimes back we have been discussing this and we say they are competing needs, as you have said. So as much as, and I think this is a message back to us progressive Pan-Africans who are trying to liberate the continent and the people, is that as much as you want the people to pay attention to the neo-colonial injustices and the need to push neo-colonialism, if they do not live in a condition or a situation that then can allow them to have full attention to that, if they are still thinking of how they can eat, and you have eaten, and you're telling them on how the member of parliament stole the money that was supposed to go for their medicine, then probably they might not be able to pay full attention. And if that is the case, then how do you ensure that they eat? Because they don't eat because some of the politicians and the policies and the legal frameworks and all those are designed to make them never have a full stomach.
So a man who is doing that very well is Traore in Burkina Faso. And he did that, taking the leaf out of what Sankara was doing before him. And I think Nkrumah to an extent did that because he introduced socialist approach within Ghana and was trying to help Ghana to be self-sufficient. But at the same time, they used propaganda to discredit him. They used propaganda to put him in a very bad light, in which when he was toppled, his own people celebrated. But now, years later, they are regretting over that. So with regards to neocolonialism, we are saying here, we need to preach, but at the same time as we are preaching, have something to show for it. We need to have something to show for it. It can't just be preaching. We need to start small. We are not in government now as progressive Pan-Africanists, but we need to find a way in which we can demonstrate to the people that we can take care of them. And actually, it's important for them to embrace Pan-Africanism other than all the other Western systems and embrace their own brothers, embrace themselves. You understand? So your question is, can we find a way that we resolve this conflict between wanting to listen, but at the same time needing, to provide the basic needs. So this is what we need to be focused at. We need to start at the grassroots level and address the basic needs.
No, Brother Coco, now look at, I'll go to the members whose hands are up. But then I want to come up in two things. One, when you are giving us the definition of cooperative socialism,
Mhm.
it moved to an extent of touching the economics. And I think maybe there's an element of economics that Nkrumah is trying to bring here by comparing cooperative socialism and capitalism. Of course, anytime we hear capitalism, our mind goes straight to economics. But then when we hear socialism in cooperative, we tend to make it away from economics to things like either politics and social stuff. So I don't know why sometimes, of course, people who come across the word socialism tend to take economics away. But if it is as your definitions, let's look at the economic angle here. Now, view this text of cooperative socialism in the line of economics as part of your definition was the definition you had was trying to talk about. Then the question will be, how do you compare the two? From your own thinking, having read Leibniz and having read Descartes, what's your thinking?
Okay, that's really a very important question you've asked there. We lost Pan-Africanism, the fight for unity, because we were caught up in a Cold War between capitalist forces from the West and the socialist forces from the East. So we were in between Russia and the Soviet Union at that time, and the United States led forces. And the war was fought in Congo, and then from Congo it was fought in Angola. So with democratic capitalism, it says there in that paragraph before we came into this one, it says every individual has an inalienable right to develop according to his nature, even if his development requires the suffering and subordination of others in a political or in an economic sense. So that's a democratic capitalism description, which is shortened because I think I talked about the longer one before we read that. You can see there it's a matter of who is the strongest. If I am the strongest, then I can dominate, then I don't care about anyone else. And that's the world we are living in. It's the world order in which we are living in because it was won by the capitalist forces. Now, under democratic, cooperative socialism, we are saying the people have access or they have control over their own lives. They have economic control. They have control in decisions that affect them. So if I am working for a company, I'm working for a company as mine under a cooperative socialism because it's a socialist approach. It's more of we take the society into account whenever we do anything. The produce is shared equitably amongst the people who own that company. It's the same as if you were planting a field, you have corn. If you are sharing all of that, it's a cooperative socialist approach of production. And in the same manner, if you were consumers consuming from what you produced, it becomes you are benefiting from being a consumer and also being a producer. So it's not one capitalist imperialist exploiting everyone else and then getting away with it or making profits and not caring about what the people who are using their products are benefiting from, or the workers who are producing that product are benefiting from. So these are the two distinctions. The other one cares about whoever is the strongest. It's about domination. It's about subordination, right? The other one is about cooperation. It's about sharing rather than competition. I hope that's clear.
If I only touch on is a comment. I think Marcus Garvey proved that we can organize a society without even being in political positions. And I think he was very conscious on the approach. That's why he wanted to build a self-sustained black community by ensuring the cost of production. And I think what you have also mentioned is very important to us, that even Pan-Africanism must solve the solutions of the people. What Sister Tapua has also mentioned in the chat, that people want immediate solutions. And then Pan-Africanism must solve the immediate solution to people. But that then also requires some element of empowerment and making Pan-Africanism somehow attractive. Of course, ideas like what Nkrumah started, Nani Garvey started back then, like either coming up with things to do with shops for Africans, businesses for Africans, schools for Africans. It's the same thing. I think we can take Pan-Africanism in the smallest level possible. And I agree with you that the challenge of Pan-Africanism is not becoming lucrative enough. It should not be lucrative at the end of the day, but it's not attractive enough to people who also run to compete between the brain and the stomach. So issues of either setting up small businesses, employing some people, helping them either get something for their stomach, and because they have something for their stomach, they can create some time for their brain also to eat. Is a lot of approaches. Majority of us as progressive Pan-Africans have to think along that way, because until you solve and help solve some of the immediate challenges, solving the long-term challenges might be an hindrance. And that's why politicians are very successful on this. They come and give people 100 shillings to solve the supper and the dinner, and then the people celebrate and forget about that. Of course, there's a lot that they're going to lose in 5 years. So we are not trying to solve for them temporary problem, but we are also trying to help them be in a condition to wait for the long-term solutions. And I think that's something that we really need to take in consideration about. So thank you for your thinking, brother Coco, for that. I wanted, yes.
Let me ask, Sister Chizomo. I don't know if you have this in Zimbabwe.
Sister Chisom is not here. Sister Tapua is the one from Zimbabwe.
Sister Tapua. Sister
Yes.
Tapua. In Lesotho, when we grew up, we had what was called Letsema. In Letsema, we come together and help each other. And that could be planting someone's field, or even, removing the weeds from someone's field, or even spreading the medicine, what do you call it, the pests control, doing the pest control, or harvesting, because we sort of we share the burden, we also share something out of that, because at the end of the day, whoever didn't have anything will have part of that produce in the end. And I think the houses of the newly married was also built that way by the society itself. The society will come in and contribute their hands, their labor, because the materials were there. There were stones and there was grass. There will be some men who knew how to touch the house. This is how the people used to live. These are the stuff which we knew pre-colonial, that we had them. We have some of those systems, but they have been destroyed or forgotten. I don't know if you have something like that in Zimbabwe.
Something like that in Zimbabwe. And it kind of lightened the burden, because society would look after everybody in the community. if someone's field was ripening before the others, the community would team up to go and work and help that person, and they would do the same in turn. But what I'm going to add to this is the fact that what we can do as Pan-Africanists is continue talking and to be patient. Because I've had some people come round recently after America did what it did. Because for a start, the Zimbabwean government has been talking about being on sanctions from the Americans, but they never said they had about 22,000 nurses being paid by the Americans. It's only coming out now. The government was saying we're providing AIDS medication.
Sister Tapua, I know Sister Tapua is suffering from network issues, but when she is able to come back, we'll allow her to come back. Sister Tapua?
HIV, there's HIV. Now the empire has been exposed. Hello?
Yeah, we were losing you some times back, but it's okay. Proceed.
Okay. No, I was saying we need to continue talking because circumstances will push people towards Pan-Africanism, because people are beginning to see that whether it be Zambia or Botswana or Kenya, they're all suffering from the exploitation and manipulation of the American system or the European system. And that in itself will
We are losing you again. Okay. Sister Tapua, we are losing you.
see and the
Sister Tapua, just to let you know that we are trying to lose you. So please try to improve on either where you are, move a bit somewhere, and then you can come back and continue. But as you work on this, let me get Sister Ida. Sister Ida, you've been silent.
I have been, and I have been listening, but I liked what Brother Coco had to say. In fact, what everybody's had to say. But at the same time, I think that I'm now beginning to wonder if there's such a thing as a difference between cooperative socialism and socialism. Because I see that when our brothers in the Sahel started on trying to educate the society about being more socialist and cooperative in the way they look at their other brothers even further up north or you know, places that were at war. I see that the difference is that Captain Traore tells the people, he tells them things like, for instance, the fact that you know, he has seen people eating leaves, but the food was so scarce that that is what they were surviving on. He tells stories about what is happening with food. And I think to me that makes a lot of difference. And then, for instance, when the people in the what do you call it, airport tried to collect an extra amount of money just to do the work that they should have been doing and thought they could get away with it, he embarrassed them by telling the whole of the country what they were up to. So I see it as that there's a difference between socialism and cooperative socialism, and that to have true socialism, people around have to cooperate. You can't just get it by hoping it's in the air and people should know what socialism is. You have to explain it to people, and in doing so, you bring them together. And that, I think, is the difference between cooperative socialism and socialism. That is what I really
Okay.
that is what has really
But Sister
stood
Ida,
up.
Sister Aida, what do you now see as the difference between this cooperative socialism and like the democratic capitalism that we read before? What do you like, or
Okay,
what do you see
I'll
the
give you
difference?
another example of how I see cooperative socialism. If we look at Garvey, the fact that Garvey got people to cooperate, cooperate, as a socialist entity, and not just as he managed to get them to have the same dream. I think that's the difference, and I think that what was it? Democratic capitalism is almost the same in that um, capitalism is democratically, the people around democratically choose it. So you could almost call it democratic socialism as well. But corporatist socialism is more about people wanting it rather than saying, oh, this is the way to go. And you just democratically say it. I think there's a difference between action and action and um, democratic capitalism. But I think the main difference is not just by saying things, but by giving examples and getting people to get on board with what you're saying. So I think there was one thing that Brother Coco said about, Nkrumah, that people were not at the same level as him, or were not at that he was far above others. I'm not sure that that is necessary so, but I think the difference is he spoke out and he wrote about it, and therefore it has stood the test of time. So his writing has stood the test of time and has explained some of his actions. So I think that unless actions and ideas intermingle, you don't move forward. At least that's the best I can come up with for what I've heard and read.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sister Aida. Brother Coco and Sister Tapua. Sister Tapua is out. Brother Coco? Then Sister Tapua. Brother Coco first, Sister Tapua, and then we go to Brother Joseph.
Yeah. So, Sister Ida, two things for you. The first one is under democratic, cooperative socialism, you are creating cooperatives.
Yeah.
You want to say it's like companies. There are companies in this case, but these companies are owned by the people who work in them.
Yes. So I understand that.
That's a cooperative. But
I understand that.
Under socialist approach, the government does everything for everyone. So it's centrally owned in that case. It's not owned to that level of a cooperative. This is to a level of a nation, the whole nation. Maybe they might break it down to a local level where they are local governments, but it's still a national socialist approach. But a cooperative socialism is that in which it has cooperatives vibrant and people having ownership of those cooperatives.
I understand that. Excuse me jumping in. I think the difference with what we're seeing in the Sahel is that it is still socialism. The ideas are still socialists, and but they are trying to get people to be cooperative within the social movement. It's not just that the government can do it on their own. They can't do it on their own without the people also being involved.
So I think again, let's make a distinction there. What you are saying there is the people actually cooperating with the government. You are saying the people are cooperating. Cooperative are not the same thing. Is the people buying in what the government is doing, but the system is still socialist in nature. But what the Burkina Faso system model is still mostly democrat and not democrat capitalist. Is a mixture of democracy and socialism. So that's a mix of the two, but not cooperative socialism, in which there is a company and that company is owned by the people who work in it. But in this case, is owned nationally by everyone. So that you have to make a distinction between those two. There's a national socialist model, but then there is a cooperative socialist model. But when you say cooperate is different in that they have to buy in, they have to help, they have to buy into the ideas of Traore. But
Yes.
let's make a distinction that under the cooperative socialist approach, they are doing things for themselves. All
But
right.
it's also been, yeah, okay. But I don't think that they have capitalism. I don't see the capitalists. I sort of hear about it that other people are still trying to come in from other places in a capitalist model. But I don't think that that the sort of democratic capitalism that you see around the world is as strong there, or will be as strong there.
Time will tell for that. I'm not going to get into that detail. The other point I wanted to raise was when I said Nkrumah is always seen as a prophet, is because Nkrumah knew about neo-colonialism well ahead of anyone else. And even Nyerere himself, 10 years after Nkrumah died, raised his hands up and said, you know what Nkrumah was saying? He was true. He was right. We didn't know this. It took me 10 years of extensive study to understand what Nkrumah was saying. So what I'm saying, Sister Ida, I'm not bigging up Nkrumah or coming up with something which doesn't. I'm talking about what another eminent leader said about Nkrumah. And Jomo Kenyatta was a capitalist in approach. Jomo refused when Nyerere said, let's unite East Africa, the East African community, and have one president. Because at the time, Jomo was just looking after his pocket at the time, or his masters who had given him lands, lots and lots of lands. His family still owns lots and lots of lands in Kenya under the capitalist system. So you can see, once you start comparing those people, you realize that what we were taught sometime in history was not true. Nkrumah was well ahead. Why again? Because he went to study in a black university in America. It was already a black university at that time, whereas all the others, they went to their colonial masters, that they studied in their colonial master's place. And what we get under colonialism as education is not actually education, but it's indoctrination to continue the same systems, methods.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Okay.
Brother Coco, Sister Tapo, you wanted to come in, and Brother Joseph as well. And welcome Hazan Moses Kayonde. We are actually sharing our thinking in regards to the highlighted paragraph. Sister Tapo, then Brother Joseph.
Yeah. The point I was trying to make is, because we're realizing that we need to have solutions to people's immediate problems, part of the immediate problems that people have is reading the lie of the land in terms of politics and economics. So, for example, some people didn't realize that part of our medical system was sponsored by the Americans, and they didn't realize the extent to which all these countries have tentacles in our communities, although we say we're independent. And they're also surprised by the fact that what Zimbabwe is experiencing in terms of neocolonialism is the same that all the other African countries are experiencing. And that in itself is a situation where Pan-Africanists can pounce and bring people together and tell them that, look, we've got the same problem. Why can't we get together and put our heads together to solve this problem? Because now they're ready to listen, because they can see what's happening around them. And they're partly, it's also because of fear, because they're panicking. We have real situations here where people who were dependent on HIV medication that was donated, people who were given foodstuffs and so on, are left exposed. And this is where we need to come in to tell them what's happening and tell them how we can provide solutions to our own problems. Because part of me, I know it's a difficult situation, is very excited by the fact that the Americans and everybody else is leaving. I think if they leave, we'll get our heads together and sort ourselves out. Because I think we've got more than the potential to solve our own problems. Just like COVID provided a situation where we were left without cover and we had to find ways of covering ourselves medically and economically. So I think this is a situation in the same way. So let's continue blowing up trumpets and getting people to realize that being borderless is better than anything that we can ever aspire to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Tapo. Elder Joseph.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to say something. I think sometimes we confuse terminology. But if you look at things at its core, you see that things don't really change. Nothing really changed. There's I think a Madagascan proverb that says, if you want to go quickly, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And this is the essence of even what I think Descartes was trying to postulate at the time, is that whereas in democratic capitalism, the individual, even if it means destroying others, can go far. But can go alone. But if you want to go far, it will be slower and we will be together. Nobody will be left out and left behind in that system. And some question was asked about the practice in various places, whether in Lesotho or in Zimbabwe. When I hear you folks speak, the same thing that used to happen in the Caribbean, and to a lesser extent still happens, where if you're building a house, especially in the days when house wasn't so complicated, people help to build a house, and they did it in a short time. We call that maroon in Grenada. I don't know the other islands call it maroon, interested enough. And also we have we do that with the land too. We did that with the land also, when you had to plow the land and so on and get the land ready for rain season. And also one other cooperative way where people help each other, especially women, with something called susu. I think that exists in Ghana, where people will they would collect money. One person would collect money from a series of people, and an individual will get it every time those in that collective pay for, like, whether it's weekly or monthly. So there has been, from an African point of view, practices of cooperation, of socialism, what you call it. I think we get confused with being influenced by Europeans, mainly because whereas a lot of, whether in the East or the West, a lot of it had to do with economics. And I will be the first one to admit, without shame, that the East one was an improvement over Western capitalism, because in socialism, and that's one of the reasons why Cuba and even Angola, although I'm ashamed of what is happening in Angola now, and in Mozambique and so on, and in Namibia, is all part of socialist energy that helped to have countries, liberated. But at the same time, it's about a lot, almost exclusively on economics. It was the economic stuff that dominated the ethos. Fidel Castro, in an interview in the Granma, after he had relinquished power, leadership, was asked whether he would do things similarly or differently. And he said he would do things different if he had to do it again. And he was asked, what do you mean? He said, I will take the cooperative approach. And he said also the ecological approach. And that's where I come in. You must, the boat system sacrifices ecology, although the socialist system benefits more people, but still at the expense of the environment or the ecology. So the question is asked whether you could incorporate with people who don't see the truth. I think, first of all, we need to ask ourselves, going back to the paragraph, what is truth and whose truth? Because there are some people.
No, good question, Brother Joseph. Good question as you're coming in. Now, if you ask what is the truth and is whose truth, of course, there are two parts of this. One, they say objective truth, and two, they say there's no private truth. What's your thinking?
Well, you see, that's why I posted that quotation in the chat. You see, we come in here and we are conditioned. Who conditioned us? The system, the dominant ideas. And at times it might be capitalistic, and the next time it might be socialistic, and so on. But we didn't have much a say in how we arrive at our ability to think or even speak. We are in a one-way victim, but also we are also beneficiary. So there's a balancing that has to take place. And I think my thoughts, I'm trying to keep my thoughts together after a week so long. The thing about it is that it requires a lot of deep thinking if you really want to really go forward without leaving anybody behind. And sometimes I get the impression that people think there's a prescribed set of things that need to say and do to be Pan-Africanist or to be united. And here's where I want to say is that in some cases you have to have tactical cooperation. You have to cooperate with people. For instance, people are condemning the Sahel countries for having connection with Russia. But had it not been their connection with Russia, things might have been toppled already. So there's sometimes you have to, even with people who don't see what you see, but if they have some level of interest, providing that you don't let them overtake what is the overall goal, you could cooperate with people.
So,
I remember,
Brother Joseph,
and let me just say this one. I remember Mikhail Kalinin, one of the first presidents of the Soviet Union. He was big on education. He wanted to address. He was saying to some students, look, don't ridicule a man if he might be reactionary. If he's someone who's learned and has a lot of experience, try and learn as much from him. Don't discard him because he's a bourgeois. I mean, he comes from the bourgeois class, or he's, from the old order. But if he has something, walk along with him. And I think Professor Lumumba said something like that. Take what others have and Africanize it or Indianize it. But I get the impression sometimes we just want to discard everything with baby with the bathtub. So we have to find a way to be creative. I think that is what Kwame tried to do. His influence, the different influence, whether it's Soviet influence, Garvey's influence, African American influence, or he incorporated that, and I think that is the beauty of his scholarship. And the other thing about it, before I end here, one of the things about Kwame is that Kwame showed that he wasn't really greedy for power. And he was willing to give up the possibility of that ceremonial or that stuff that people are hungry for. He was willing to cede. And I think you're getting that impression also from Kwame, from Torre. It's like, although he might be upfront, you're not altogether the maximum leader. You know, like how some of these insecure leaders in various parts of the world, of Africa and on the continent, behave insecure, so they make themselves maximum leader, and they have all kind of symbol around them, which Professor Lumumba alluded to that one time when he was, I think, at the AU. Anyway, thanks.
Thank you, Elder Joseph. I wanted to come in and you say you need to compromise, and I think we learned sometimes back in the past how the church has survived in compromising. But permit me to lead this conversation. Brother Moses, we actually read the paragraph I dated, the first paragraph, and share our thinking. Being your first time, of course, you're free to share your thinking if you wish to do. And if you wish also to maybe listen to what people say, also you're free to do that. Let me hear from you, Hassan, Moses, Kayode. Moses? Okay. Allow me walk through this paragraph a bit as I share my thinking, but also try to raise some few issues. Now, they say Descartes' support is given to cooperative socialism. We have discussed the difference between socialism and cooperative socialism. But again, the cooperation or cooperative, where the ownership of the people, as Brother Cook has said clearly, being different from the national or normal socialism, where the nation or as a state owns and take care of resources. But Descartes begin from the position that reason is the same in all. Do we believe that reason is the same in all? And I think there's a position either of identifying that everyone is equal. I don't know what you think about that. This position that Descartes is taking from the beginning.
It also, if I should come in here, but is that, you know, the American Constitution says that they start off with something about the inalienable rights of all men, although they didn't include women, are created equal. Although at the time when they didn't apply that to the African people, they were enslaved. But I think and maybe that's a truth. That's that we cannot run away. That at the end of the day, all men and women are equal. The only thing about that, there are those who have reduced it to all men are equal, but some are equal more than others. But you know that statement from the guy who wrote Animal Farm.
Yes, Brother Joseph, thank you for coming in. Then, I think this statement sounds something familiar with what you've read before. Because Nkrumah has actually presented in the past that we are all actually intrinsic worth and we are all equal in terms of our intrinsic worth, irrespective of our differences in terms of functions, but we are all equal. But this again take me back to the conversation of what Socrates and Plato was doing in a society. I think Aristotle. Aristotle was saying that not everybody had a political right in Greece, as some were perceived not to be able to make political choices, which means in that level, and then you bring hierarchy. When you say some, you bring hierarchy, and that hierarchy is what you call idealism. But in this aspect, when you bring equality of all, what we have been talking in the past called egalitarianism, then you bring some element of materialism. Because the materialism then believes that every human being is born equal, because we come from the same matter. But again, this reminds me that we are talking about the philosophy of Descartes and Leibniz coming from humanism. And humanism, we had actually come across humanism in our previous readings at the age of Renaissance. Because we were told Renaissance not actually gave birth to humanism. I don't know, humanism gave back to Renaissance. And humanism, we had discussed in the past, is the ability to take back the power of concentration to the human being, or human wellness, or equality, or welfare, rather than that power being set aside for heavenly and God. Because the church had actually centered too much of the attention on God and forgetting about the welfare of human being, or the well-being of human being. But when the philosophers of Renaissance come in now, the people like John Stuart Mill and these other people coming in now, like Leibniz, Descartes, and the rest who are now coming, are away from the older philosophers who had come across, like Aristotle and Plato. Then we see the church also came back to have a double speaking, the likes of Akina Berkeley, who is actually an idealist, trying to pretend that they still take concentration on human welfare, but at the same time still worship and take all the center to God. But I think that is not unique to us. That's what we see in the whole African continent, where the church pretends that they are here to pray for your well-being so that you can get a good job, you can live a better life. But at the same time, they are telling you, concentrating that God is everything else. So let's worship God, pray God, and ask God for everything else. And this they are doing at the expense of not even taking care of what is the well-being of this individual who come to church. Did he eat? Did he have some clothes? Did he have anything to drink? They don't care about that. But when you come to church, they don't offer that personal fulfillment of your own welfare, but they take you back to the heavenly beings. So that was then brought back here. And I think that's when you to say that when I think it was Berkeley or Thales brought forms back, forms which was then believed that thinking and idea and intellectual capacity was something above the human space, and that you have to be in some level of spiritual realm so that you can access or tap to that, then you become probably a prophet, diviner, or a pastor. When it was brought back to earth or in its form, then it means that everybody had access to the truth, to the knowledge. But again, I'm getting here that, and that fundamentally we are equal. We are equally able to perceive and appreciate the same truth. So this element that some people might not be able to see the truth is an assumption, but probably it's not a reality. Do you think even madmen don't know what is true? They know. But if you try to put some element that some are not able to perceive the truth, then that's where you bring back a hierarchy again. And you bring back somebody who says that, okay, I must be your leader, a member of parliament, or a president to tell you what should be done. I am the so-and-so because I know it, I've gone to school, I'm learned, so I think this is what should be done. But history has proven that even those with the PhD and professor and those with the masters and the scholarly education, those who with either bright so-called ideas, those who are either with big bodies, those who are even men who believe they're strong, have failed. So the idea that some might know more than the other is not real, or is not real. Everybody, given an opportunity, can actually perceive the same truth. And he says that we do not have private truth. Truth is truth. Of course, this discussion has been held by, I think, who is this? Plato, in one of his conversation, and his conversation, there are so many things he recorded, the philosopher's argument. They have been asking about truth, and he equated truth to color. And he asked, do everybody believe that this is a red color? And people say, yes, it's a public truth that this is red color. But can somebody come up and say, no, this is not red, this is white? Sometimes it's impossible. That's why we cannot have our own so-called private truth. Truth is truth. It can never be private. That's simple. But again, they say that we all share public objective truth and pursue them. But the question I have and the problem I have is in that pursuing them. Do we really all pursue the same public truth? Do our leaders perceive the same public truth? That's where the difference comes. Because they don't, some don't. Some do, some don't. So it's not that they believe that you are all pursuing the same public truth. I think that's where I have some problems with. And they say that even when we perceive that public truth and pursue them, because we have not paid full attention to the matter on hand, we have not yet ascertained the truth. That's another very interesting part. So how do we ascertain the truth? Is it by experiment? How can we ascertain the truth? Anybody who is interested to come in on that? Yes.
Maybe by not being traitors. Because our independence, African independence, was about most probably land. Because the colonialists, when they came, they have taken land. But when we got independence, land was never an issue anymore. That's why you see the situation in Zimbabwe, you see the situation in Namibia, the situation in South Africa, to mention but just a few. So to come back, maybe we are not pursuing the same truth at the same time. Many truth pursuers have become double agents. And that's why the most critical issue of land resolution and land has never been solved in any African country where the land was taken by the colonialists. That's my 5 cents.
Very interesting. On the line of what you're saying, maybe we are not pursuing the same truth. I'll give another typical example with the current president of Kenya, President William Ruto. President Ruto came to power to tell the poor people that we are going all hustlers and are going to make the same government. People believe in that common cause, but over a period of time, people have realized that maybe we were not pursuing the same thing. But again, the next thing is that we must cooperate, that's what they say, we must cooperate with others in supporting the demands of order as conceived by them. That's a very important element. I don't have problem with cooperating with others, but as perceived by them, that's where Sister Tapo was having a question, who is them?
Yeah, who are the them?
So maybe them are the truth, in this context are the people who have seen the truth or who know the truth. But how have they then ascertained their truth?
And that's also where I have the problem. I cannot cooperate if I don't know what I'm cooperating for. And my brother Joseph there has said there must be, what is the term that he used? He described a benefit. He said there must be some type of benefit. I have forgotten the word that he has used there.
I use the word tactical cooperation.
Yeah, tactical cooperation, but at the same time you said there must be a demonstrable benefit for those people to follow. What is this demonstrable benefit? Are you going to demonstrate to them that this is the benefit that we are pursuing if they do not know the truth, if they have not seen the truth, and if they have not ascertained the truth? What else will you use them as bait? Are you going to bribe them?
No, but it depends. I mean, what are you coming, are you going to people? You see, if you're taking the schoolmaster approach, then that'll be problematic. But if you engage people I was a community development worker, in which I work in one of the most difficult places that you could ever in Grenada, and the most poverty-stricken place. And there are people is highly politically charged, divide, their division. And one of the things I used to get to help people to really see the need to do voluntary activity is like for instance, I would say, if your grandmother is ill, sick, ill, who's going to come and help bring her out from this muddy place or this, thing? The thing, the minister, the politician will come and say, no. I said, so then what we need to do then is to, you can get some, you can get some assets from, you can get some material from the government or from the structure, the power structure. Take it and improve your condition, because at the end of the day, when your mom or your grandmother gets sick, she will have to be taken to the hospital. And if you have to walk through that place, how are we going to do it? And they would see. So it's a matter of helping people to broaden their perspective. The word perspective was used earlier on. So it's a matter of you need to know a lot of patience and all of that. Of course, there could be missteps. I think one of the things I was supposed to say, I was supposed to add in when I spoke originally, I think we need to be guided by Sophie Carmichael, like Comitori, I think is African name. When you say that, there's a difference between mobilization and organization. And even our experience here is demonstrating that we are trying to move along in the organizational phase. And it's been proven very challenging because in the mobilization frame, you can get people to do a one-up thing and get a lot of people, but people quickly go back to the original stuff. And also, they could also be easily swayed. And that's where organization comes in, where like what like being attempted here, so that people have a deep appreciation for the work that is at hand, and not just the superficial, like a lot of people have Pan African without understanding, or even in religion, which is called in some circle phrase mongering. You could say a few phrases and so on, but doesn't mean anything. So I think it's a matter of understanding and being able to speak a language that people understand. And language doesn't necessarily mean whether it's Yoruba or English. It means being able to touch people from the inside. And I think that is one of Tory's strong, asset at the moment. He could touch. You cannot help not feeling inspired or touched by him when you listen to him.
Okay,
I
thank
hope
you.
I've
Thank you for that,
hope I've
brother.
added
Thank you
some
for that.
clarity or some.
Yeah, thank you for that, brother Joseph. Yeah, so the last part of it is not that very catchy, but he says that consequently, Descartes saying that while he was busy doubting everything, in order the better to appreciate what was true, he still conceived it as necessary to cooperate with others in supporting the stability and order of society. Which is this order of society?
Can I come in there?
Yes, Sister Tapua.
I find I'm finding the contradictions between what they can say and what he does. I'm trying to avoid saying hypocritical, because he said there, cooperating with people that he didn't agree with. And we only got to know about this when he had gone. So what he is saying is, he'd seen a truth. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can
Yeah,
hear
we're
you.
hearing you.
We are at the top of our minute. We can hear you like.
Okay. What we are seeing Decker say, we're seeing him say he's had to cooperate with a system that was contrary to how he saw things. And my thoughts are, human beings live by cooperation. At some level, we've got to cooperate to exist. If we don't, and if there's chaos, then it threatens our very existence. So, whilst we're trying to make other people see our truth, we can't afford chaos. Because if we have chaos, then it leads to our demise. Therefore, the tricky situation here is, we can see that the Pan-Africanist way is the way we must go. But at the moment, we are not there yet. Therefore, we need to cooperate with people that we see as likely to get us to our truths, whatever that might be. And that's hard to bear, because sometimes we're living in a context where you can clearly see that this leadership here is lost. It's not going to take us where we want to go as fast as we should go. And therefore, we need to reduce our speed and just get on and make the most of the situation we're in.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Tapu.
If I should just come in here for one brief moment here, is that in terms of the leadership, I say that's where we are coming, that we're doing the work on ourselves, when we can stand in the gap to our own, I don't know if to call it, I don't want to say elevation, but to own understanding that we can see gaps and then help to point it, to one another and, hold things together, and without waiting on, say, Pigeon or Christian or Kwame or whoever, but that we would work on ourselves so that we could always give a good account of ourselves. I think that's where we come in. We come in as potential. I would say the word not come in, but as soldiers or whatever you want to say. But we are in the struggle together, in the same boat. Yeah,
Yeah, thank you very much, Brother Joseph and Sister Tapua. With that, we come to an end of our session today. Next time, we'll continue the reading and share a discussion on our thinking as well. But thank you for making it today. I believe we've learned something. I believe we are building ourselves. We are becoming more conscious, which is the best and our key target here. And I want to appreciate you all for your kind time and your kind contribution to this conversation. Sometimes you think you are contributing, but in another way, you are also learning by contributing, by seeing some of the things that are being tabled, by listening to some of the thinking and understanding of other people. You are able to build your own thinking, and in that way, you can decolonize your mind and have a proper way on how we can then liberate and unify the continent. So thank you very much, and see you again next Thursday or this Saturday on our Saturday session. Have a blessed evening to you all.
Thank you very much. Goodbye. Good night, all.
Good night.